still in the pits. Joseph L's still at work, as you can see in chat, so obviously won't be making it through to Q2. We're expecting Josh and Wee to be up there. They are fighting for the championship at the moment, so would be a bit of a shock for them to not make Q3. 37s in Q1 seems doable. A lot of these guys though are aliens, don't worry about them. As I said a week or two ago, with Assist Tier 2, it's all about creating a level playing field as much as we can. So much to the point where we don't know who's going to win each race because no one is the outstanding fastest. But in this, I mean, as you can just see, Josh has gone 4 tenths quicker than everyone else. Really, the sky's the limit for how fast they can go. So the gaps may appear larger. That's only because the people at the top are just complete either sweats or aliens or whatever you want to call them. But obviously Josh will very comfortably get through. Oh, I'm a very sarcastic person, Novatek, so I assume sarcasm quite frequently. TD then, only narrowly up in Sector 2, so might have lost all his time in Sector 3. So it's not over for Tom Dog. Around the final corner, clip the apex. Oh, and he's gone for a bit of a spin. We've seen a few times that happen on Tuesday night, so that corner is catching people out. Constant yellow flags on the screen, so very difficult for me to see how long is left of this session, but only a few moments, I imagine. As I think Hawks has just gone quicker. Flag has now fallen, as you can see. So Joseph, we already knew about, and Deflated Wee's getting held up here. Been kicked out again. Okay. We will see later on. So Q2 then, and if we carry on having the same kind of problems, I think we'll probably just have to call it. Otherwise, the stream is just going to be me lagging out of lobbies, and it's going to be very boring, and there's going to be no point watching it. So I have one potential fix in the back of my mind, but it will involve rebooting the stream. But hopefully the stream is not the problem. So Q2 then, a few people have put on the yellow mark medium slower compound of tyres. Colucci, Tomino, Hungry Throne, Snacks, the 4 in question. Hoping they can set a decent lap time to get them through to Q3. If not, they're just burning a set of tyres perhaps. Saving a set of softs for Q3 or possibly the race. Fingers crossed, Padge. Yeah, it might be. I mean, it could just be Q1. On Tuesday, I seem to crash right before the end of the race, so last 2 or 3 laps, which is pretty weird. And I always seem to crash in Q1. So I'm not too sure whether it's just that session or whether it is the host, I don't know. But it's definitely a game, it's not my internet. So Alpha Matti across the line to set a 1 minute 39.3. We got plenty of drivers coming to the line in Sector 3, as you can see on your track map. Hungry Throne does a 38.3 on mediums. Nice. That would definitely be 37s. 39.0 currently slots into seconds. And Mr. Colucci does the 39.6 on mediums. Still got 5 drivers in the pit. Adrian not on track as we speak. Smaller Smiley and Tamino suits. No worries, Pat. Any session is better happening in Q1 because there's as important a session. So, you know, fingers crossed we get there tonight. Snacks on the mediums does a 39.5 and slots into P4 as things stand. And here comes Pelly across the line to go 4th on a 39.4. Are in front of him, which nicely gets out of the way. And this looks a pretty good lap. Had a purple on the track map in second and across the fastest we've seen. Track evolution is a factor on this game, which means the more you drive on the track, the more rubber's on there, the more grip you're going to have, the faster you can go. So expect to see some 1 minute 36s potentially either in this session or next session. Ross with a banker at the moment, but obviously we know he's better than that. And he goes again and gets a purple in the opening sector. 10 of the 15 drivers out on track right now, and 8 minutes left of session. Ross is running low on ERS battery, so this may not be the quickest lap we've ever seen from Ross, but certainly if it's a solid lap, may still put him through to Q3. Well, certainly in a good spot where he might be able to get there. Ross crossed the line, goes third fastest. Again, it was a decent lap, even with the limited amount of ERS he had, as Adrian pops up ahead of Ross into third. Only 7 milliseconds away from Platty, who is currently second fastest, but still 9/10 away from Scuderia. Tamino on the slower medium tyres is still 4/10 away from Hungry Throne on the same compound, so I'm going to limb here and say that wasn't Tamino's finest effort. However, he's had some recently, and I think all of his setups have been either deleted or replaced or something like that, so I believe it actually doesn't have a custom setup on. 37.7 as Mr. Wiggles, coming to the end of his lap, invalidates and ducks back into the pits side of the track and ended up actually getting disqualified, which was very frustrating for him. Pretty unfair, to be honest. It happened in the way it did, and that is obviously annoying for the spectators as well. So yeah, drivers I guess need to be aware of that as well. ATD, mate. My theory... I'm not going to speak too soon, actually. I'll say it at the end of the session. I have a theory, and I think my theory works. But I'll say it at the end of Q2. Deflator Wee back out on track. No lap time on the board so far. Mr. Colucci has ditched those mediums for red mark soft tyres. Quicker compounds. Quarter of a second up in Sector 2. We'll need a little bit more, but as things stand, is due to maybe jump up into the top 10 if he can string together a decent final sector. Currently Alpha Matty's time, 39.3, is the one to beat. Everyone below that at this stage will be dropping out in Q2. Hungry Throne did set a 38.4 on mediums, now does a 37.3 on soft tyres, as Mr. Colucci does indeed slot into P10. Very frustrating Q1. Which position did you qualify? We know who went out, but we don't know in which order. Asthma Frog, nice lap there. Pops into the 37s. Does a 0.8, and that's good enough at the moment for 4th. Deflated Wheat. Starting a lap. At least you can eat your tea. Are we going to have another game of what's TD having for dinner? P18 span twice on the final corner. We saw one of the spins. Just to make you feel better. Have a guess. Well, could be anything really. Could be Chinese, could be pizza. Don't know. Anyone in chat want to have a guess what TD's eating? Probably the least entertaining interactive game you'll have on Twitch, but if you want to guess, pop it in the chat. My rears are too hot, forgot to adjust my tyre pressures, so ruined me. Well, you silly Billy. So Deflator Wee, not expecting him to drop out, and goes quickest by a couple of tenths, sorry. Faster than Scuderia's 37.0, so that's the fastest time we've seen so far today. Mr. Wiggles has really strong pace around this track, using all of the road there before the final couple of corners, and does a 36.8 of his own. I felt like he just ran wide a little bit at the final corner, and actually if he didn't, he may have gone fastest, but still, that is very good enough for Q3. Can tell we have a good relationship, or I'd kill you. I've been calling you Tom Dog in Q1, mate. I'm fully expecting you to to throw rocks at my window. I think that's my best lap around here. Happy with that on my debut race. Hey, very, very well done, mate. Currently 6th fastest. And in this division, 6th fastest, although some people might be a bit disappointed with that, that's really good, honestly. Very impressed then with Scuderia as well, as he currently is in 3rd place on his debut. So we could have an even more competitive division. Snacks there, you saw just crashing, I don't know if crashing's the right word, but losing the rear end at the few corners from the ends. And pops into 5th place as the checkered flag has fallen. Mr. Colucci will start 15th on the grids. Here comes Tamino. And if he hasn't got a setup on, how has he done that? Honestly. And Ross has retired from the session in the pits. And once again is out in Q2. Maybe this just isn't his track for quali. But certainly that is a bit of a shock. We've got Adrian, the time to beat on a 37.9, improves to 6th. And that will pretty much all but confirm his spot in Q3. That top 5 look pretty comfortable right now as Platty goes 8th. Josh has finished in 9th and Asthma Frog in 10th. Smaller Smiley could beat them. Alpha Matti and Pelly also on the track. I think Alpha Matti has just gone into the pit, so he will start 12th at best. And here comes Smaller Smiley in the second Haas. Can he put one Haas into Q3? Yes, he can. And he squeezes out Asthma Frog. Very close there. 7 milliseconds. And that is also unfortunate for Asthma Frog. Very valiant effort on his debut. Unfortunately, not quite good enough to get through to Q3 there. But that is so close. I mean, it's 2/10 between Adrian in P6 and Asthma Frog in P11. That's how close this division really is. Tamino has a setup, okay. I know he lost his setup, so I don't know if he had one or not. But certainly that is a very star-studded top 10. All of these people have won races in IIRL in AT1 with the exception of Scuderia on his debut and Smaller Smiley. The other 8 have done so. I'm not sure if Snacks has won a race in AT1, but he's certainly up there with the very best. The advantages, of course, to a long track are if you can nail it, you gain a lot of time on your competitors, as there is a lot more opportunity to lose time and gain time. Obviously, if it was a very short track, you need a perfect lap to really gain a massive advantage on your rivals. So there are pros and cons to having a track like this on the calendar. Obviously, with the tight walls and the barriers, it's going to be very easy to gain some damage if you slightly misjudge an overtaking or defensive maneuver. Could easily find yourself with damage. And Mr. Wiggles almost running into the wall there. Exit of turn 9, but does well not to. Going better, thankfully. Yeah, I have a theory, and I think it's Ross being host. I'm not saying that Ross is a bad host. I'm saying maybe my game doesn't like it when Ross hosts. I don't know what it is, because recently he has lagged out a bit. So maybe there's an issue when Ross hosts. I don't know. It's just a theory. But since then, I've not had any problems. So it's very unfortunate. But that's my theory, and I think it's probably a good one. So maybe potentially we could have maybe a new host, as Mr. Wiggles sets a 36.9. At certain points in his lap, I thought that he was losing traction and maybe was sliding too much, but based on that lap time, 36.9, as Hungry Throne does a 37.0, and is only 1/10 away from provisional pole. Here comes Scuderia, of course. Goes for it. And crosses the line to start a new lap. Going to try and get less than 17 seconds tonight. It's not too bad, actually, time penalties here. We only saw half the field get penalties on Tuesday, but that was a mix of time penalties plus speeding in the pit lane penalties or crossing the white line penalties, so you might have some better luck, Joseph. Thank you, Padge. Greg told us in Q1, but thank you. Appreciate that. So Hungry Throne then. Racing round this Singapore track. Like a man possessed. Across the Anderson Bridge. Try and make sure that you don't clip the inside curb of that hairpin too much, otherwise your car will be a little bit unsettled. Half a tenth to the good in Sector 2. Around Sector 3, that's one of the more tricky corners as well. Doesn't look it, but that inside curb can send you off into a spin. During the race, that will be a factor as well. Looked like it went a bit too deep into that chicane, but he styled it out pretty nicely there. I wonder if there maybe a bit of lag or something on my screen. Across the line, Hungry Throne goes. It's a quarter of a second improvement, and he jumps up onto the front row of the grid. That's a very good lap there from Hungry Throne. But behind him, Mr. Wiggles is also a quarter of a second up and improving. And if he carries on the way he is, he could find himself on pole. Round the final corner as Tamino does a 36.6 and Mr. Wiggles spins at the final corner. And not only has that ruined his current lap, but he will not be able to set a fast lap in his next lap. So Mr. Wiggles will have to stay fourth at best. And Tamino has come from out of nowhere, RKOing the whole field to go provisional pole. And that is the fastest lap time we have seen this week. Scuderia and Josh crossing the line a few moments ago to start brand new laps. Snacks then through Sector 2 is 6/10 to the good. He needs 1.1 seconds if he wants to get provisional pole. But this is still a very good improvement here. Should be good enough for a spot in top 5. And goes third fastest there. Snacks has come from out of nowhere to put himself in really strong position here. Very well done, Snacks. Wiggles did a 36.4. When did he do a 36.4? Deflated Wee, 4/10 up. 37.5 at the moment. 4/10 have put him above Scuderia. Oh, on Tuesday. Apologies. Scuderia is on a good lap. Hungry Throne has retired the car in 4th place. Adrian has finished in 6th. And Platty has finished without a time on the board. Here comes Deflated Wee, and it's only good enough for 6th place. What about Smiley coming to the line as Josh does the fastest lap we have seen this week now, officially on a 36.3, and goes pole position by 0.3 of a second. Smaller Smiley with his only flying lap of this session pops into 9th, and Tamino will have just seen that Josh has gone 0.3 quicker than him. And I'm sure that Tamino will be very surprised about that. Scuderia pops up into the top 3 there in the final few moments. Snacks in P4. Very nice attempt there, mate. Good job there for the AlphaTauri team. Hungry Throne in 5th place. Mr. Wiggles has to settle for 6th after a spin on his final attempt. Otherwise, potentially we could have seen him in and around that front row of the grid. At the moment, we've got Snacks and fighting over P6 as a change for the lead. Still Red Bull out in front as Deflated Wee is very close now to the the back of Josh. Maybe Josh isn't enjoying these tyres in this stage of the race, or maybe Deflated Wee is just enjoying those mediums right now, but certainly Wee is knocking on the door and is trying to make a move. Tamino now has got the bit between his teeth. He's starting to pull a little bit of a gap on his teammate, and I wonder if Tamino can get out of DRS range here. Deflated Wee having a bit of a look down the inside of Josh. Hungry throwing the rear of the car. The red light is flashing, which means he's got less than 25% ERS. Scuderia top 4. He's a bit of... Has definitely some DR. He gets that move done. I wonder if they're battling with Ross over 6th place. Alpha Matti, really strong race. A full course safety car, so I assume that Mr. Wiggles has crashed at the final corner. Obviously we didn't see it, which is very frustrating. Adrian pits. TD also pits. I was kind of hoping he would stay out so you can kind of see what's happened to Wiggles, but can't see. Platty pits as well. Mr. Wiggles' car has now been removed, so we still don't know what's happened. But Mr. Wiggles is, unfortunately, out of this race. Here's the position changes. Tamino started second, now leads the race. Deflated Wee, the big gainer, up 5 places, but he is on the medium compound tyres right now. Josh started on, has dropped to 3rd, but still obviously within this, still in this race. Hungry throwing Scuderia was on the back of that as well. Ross has got past Snacks, and Snacks has dropped to 15th. And he has messed up a corner as Joseph Ailes comes into the pits, fixes some damage, and heads out again on a set of hard compound tyres. But Ross is up 8, Alpha Matti is up 6, Pelly up 4, Colucci and Greg up 6 as well. Hawks and Padgestic making moves as well. So into the pits comes Deflated Wee and Scuderia, onto a set of hard compound tyres for Wee, and onto a set of mediums for the Ferrari driver. Hawks now into the pits after his strong opening stint, and he boxes onto the hards as well. That's why we don't sweat it. I had no practice today after waking up, so it was going bad. That's annoyed. Okay, that's the main thing. At least you're not frustrated. That's the we'd all love. Stay out, nurture those tyres. Doesn't have to be overtaking the field left, right, and centre. Certainly might find himself in a very strong position in maybe 10 laps time. P20 to P12 by turn 1, taken out in turn 1, then your pedals just stop working. That is so annoying, mate. Bad luck, mate. Yeah. There's nothing I can say to make that seem any better. Well, Platty, unfortunately, won't be able to catch up to the back of the pack. He is too far behind after a couple of pit stops. So Tamino will slow the pack down, bunch the field back up. Kelly needs to be a bit more closer to Alpha Matti, otherwise he may get caught napping here. But Tamino's job will be to allow this safety car to come back into the pits, and then we'll accelerate and restart this race. And he's gone for it through the final corner, doesn't spin. Tamino leads us back underway on lap 10. And I think Snacks has had a bit of a moment. He has spun at the final corner. And that is a very bad time to spin. Right when the field is bunched, and it's already a 6-second handicap for Snacks. So he might be able to catch up, but it might just take him a few laps. Here comes Hawks and TD having a fight through turn 4, and here comes Adrian, the only one on the mediums, apart from Scuderia in 12th place. No moves as of yet in the top 13. Obviously, safety cars ruin your rhythm and your flow. So, especially on a track like this with tight walls and close barriers, you need to get your rhythm back pretty quickly. And it looks like Tamino has got the bit between his teeth and looks to be just a couple of tenths quicker per lap than Josh here. And in the end, that might be the advantage that he needs to have a strong result and finish ahead of his teammate. Let's not forget, of course, Josh is leading the championship by 49 points. Deflated Wee is in 2nd place. So, Deflated Wee here, if he can stay within touching distance of the cars ahead, when Josh pits, he will come out behind Deflated Wee, which means this could be a really good opportunity here for Wee to claw back some points in the championship. As Hungry Throne looked down the inside of Josh there. No gap available for him into turn 1. And the longer that these fight, the more time that Tamino is going to take out of his teammate. No DRS, of course, until lap 3 after a safety car restart. So lap 12, the start of lap 12 is when DRS will be enabled once again. So Tamino has done a really good job so far of pulling out a 1.5 second lead. Pelly close to losing DRS range for Alpha Matti. Colucci struggling to stay within a second of Pelly as well. Oh, and Smaller Smiley. Oh, and what's happened here? Smaller Smiley and Deflated Wee have had an incident, and they've both had a bit of a spin and have lost a lot of ground. I wonder if one of them has run into the other one. I believe Wee was behind Smiley, so potentially there. Deflated Wee has broken a bit later as they go side by side. Bit of wheel contact. Potentially Wee there has made contact with Smaller Smiley, as he does make that move round the outside. Very bold move. But what we were just saying about Deflated Wee, that may have just completely changed. And certainly they have lost a little bit of time. Not too much time, but they have certainly lost a bit of time on the rest of the pack. Picking up again then with this fight for 2nd place. Hungry Throne not quite close enough to Josh here to get past. Josh obviously would love to close that gap on his teammate. And get within DRS range, but Ross is out of range of Hungry Throne. Alpha Matti's out of range of Ross. Pelly is close to being out of range. Colucci's out of range and is defending from Asthma Frog, Scuderia, Padgestic, Greg, TD, and Smaller Smiley is out of the race. What has happened there? And it looks like in the old Singapore sling corner, Smaller Smiley has retired from the Grand Prix. The car is removed, so there will be no safety car or VSC. But Smaller Smiley there has had 2 incidents in 2 laps, one with Deflated Wee and one where he has retired. Not convinced those mediums. He does get past Asthma Frog now into 8th place. He might have to pit onto either another set of mediums or a set of softs for the final stint, as Adrian has had a bit of an issue out in the first couple of corners. Asthma Frog looking to fight back as Adrian gets a time penalty for cutting turn 4. Scuderia has made that move now into 8th place and has made it stick, and has got a little bit of free road ahead of him to try and close down Colucci. TD then at the back of this train. What is the fight for 8th place? Behind them, Deflated Weed trying to fight his way back up the fields. Has the returning racer APS RE19 Hawks. Hawks is a little bit out of shape, and Deflated Weed obviously needs to avoid hitting him, but this will be frustrating. Needs to ideally get past Hawks as quickly as possible. So here comes Padge now on the inside of Asthma Frog and up into 9th. Nice pass there from Padge. Greg also getting past. TD senses an opportunity. Pedals are fully broken, not working in TD. Got 80% max throttle at the start, so switched off and on and then got nothing. Potentially it could be a game error, Joseph. Maybe there's a few bugs that was that's going on. But yeah, obviously unfortunate, Joseph. Hope they get fixed for you. Evening, Demon. Hope you're well. We've been kicked out of this lobby 6 times, I think. Definitely 5, maybe 6. I think Tucker's busy, so couldn't do it. Akaris is moving a sofa or something. So I said, hey, I'm around. I'm not quick enough for this tier anymore. So I'm available to stream. I was really having fun as well. Taken out twice and silly error from trying to catch out. Unfortunate, smaller. We did potentially comment that I think Platin maybe ran into you there, or Deflated Weed maybe ran into you. Asthma Fro just made a slight mistake there, and that's why he's dropped behind a few drivers. TD up to 11th now. Both, okay. Yeah, that is unfortunate. We definitely saw Platty without a front wing on the first corner. Yeah, Padge is in the points. Obviously, for all of those with 14 laps next to their name, they will need to make a mandatory pit stop. So, Padge will have a perfect race for his second stint to get some points. Scuderia looks in the best shape right now, although with those mediums on the car, he may have to pit again. So really, we might actually see IIRL Greg leading this race once everyone on those worn hard tyres has made a pit stop. At the moment, Tamino is leading his teammate by 1.8 seconds. That gap has gone up by around half a second in the past couple of laps. Scuderia still making moves through the field, this time past Pelly. And the Aston Martin now finds himself in the top 6 on his debut. I'm doing 5 lappers, but DNF because my car is made of melted cheese apparently. Which cheese? If it's Stilton, you might have some structure there, but if it's Brie, it'll just be a mess. Be going down one of those sewage drains. As he retires from the race. Asmafrog has pitted after that slight mistake earlier on. As a battle for second heating up now, Josh and Hungry Throne swapping places, but no position change in the long term. Ross has lost a bit of time now on this top three. Tamino now leads by 2.2 seconds. Hungry Throne has lost a little bit of ground on Josh this lap. Ross, meanwhile, hasn't had the same race pace that he normally does. I wonder if maybe he's struggling out there, or maybe a lack of practice. Maybe he's making a few mistakes out there. But still, in a strong position in P4. Alpha Matti, I have to say, is driving very well for an Assist Tier 2 driver. Up in 5th place. Obviously, we'll need to make a pit stop shortly, but still in a strong place and under increasing pressure from Scuderia. Padge pits from within the points. Fleetwee has caught up now to the back of Greg, who is looking to get past Mr. Colucci as TD gets a time penalty. Scuderia not quite close enough. Let's check in on this battle then for 8th place. Question will be, can these hard runners box onto soft tyres? My initial guess is probably not. I think the safest bet here is to box onto a set of medium compound tyres, which you can do any time now, really. Down the inside of Greg goes Deflated Wee, but Greg sticks it around the outside, gets some good traction, and looks to stay ahead. Scuderia and Alpha Matti fighting really quite hard here. It's allowing Pelly to catch up a little bit. Hungry Throne still within striking distance of Josh, who has brought that gap back down to 1.9. So Josh and Tamino's pace are pretty similar here. Hungry Throne pits, and so does Ross, in an attempt probably for some kind of undercut. Scuderia therefore is promoted up into P4. Alpha Matti now finds himself on the podium as things stand. Lap 18 of 31, still got 13 laps to go. Plenty of action left in this one. Scuderia now has the run. Alpha Matti, good defensive position for the car. Brakes as late as he can. Slightly forces Scuderia off the road, who keeps his foot in it. They're still going side by side now. Really good defense from Alpha Matti there, with the exception of just forcing Scuderia off track there. A little bit naughty perhaps. Some might think that he needs to give that position back, but it's good hard racing, that's for sure. Pelly well involved in this fight now, might just lie in wait. Adrian has retired in the pits, no crash out on track, which means no safety car will be deployed. And here comes Scuderia, last of the late breakers, down the inside of Alpha Matti. Matti's still trying to defend. This is very valiant stuff here from the AT2 driver. But in the end, Scuderia's pace has got through there. Hungry Throne Ross, Colucci, all pitting in the last lap. They've come out in 10th, 11th and 13th respectively. So they are going to have to really push in this last stint if they want to catch the likes of Hawks, TD, Greg and Deflated Wee, who have already made their mandatory pit stop. However, the tyre advantage that Hungry Throne, Ross, Padge and Colucci and Asthma Frog have is astronomical. Scuderia now past Alpha Matti. And those medium compound tyres still working pretty well nicely there for Scuderia. I doubt they can go another 12 laps. However, might have a very fast set of soft compound tyres for the final stint. So, 6 retirements so far, and all 6 of them definitely could have scored some very valuable points here tonight. It's going to be a bit of a jumbled up order. Might see some of the underdogs scoring some good points here tonight. And out front, Tamino pits. Josh obviously won't box behind his teammate because they'll have to double stack and Josh will lose time. So Josh stays out to inherit the lead and will be the race leader for lap 20. Tamino pits alongside Scuderia, who will look to go onto another set of medium compound tyres. Pretty smart call there. And Alpha Matti, after a brilliant first stint fighting with Scuderia, has pitted for a new set of medium compound tyres too. Quite crucial here, Tamino is behind Hungry Throne by 4.2 seconds. How has that happened? Hungry Throne was in a fight for P3, went for a big undercut, and it's really worked out for him. He now finds himself, I'm not going to say net P1 because he's not, but certainly once Josh and Pelly pit, he will definitely find himself in 4th. The people above him he needs to overtake. So he needs to overtake TD, who is having a really good, strong strategy race up in P5. Hungry Throne also needs to overtake Greg. And Deflated Wee right now is in the best spot of them all. He leads this race once Josh pits. And Josh indeed does pit to cover off his teammate. Now Tamino's in a bit of a fight with Hawks here, so if Josh has had a really good in-lap, Josh may come out around his teammate. We'll have to keep an eye on this. Tamino right behind Hawks. Where is Josh? Josh is coming out of the pits now, so he's lost some time. Has got some space to work with, but certainly Ross has had a really good undercut with Hungry Throne. Those two have been the major gainers from these recent pit stops. Deflated Wee now leads this race. Pelly is yet to pit. Possibly might be going on to soft compound tyres, maybe. Greg is in 3rd place and doesn't need to make another pit stop. Neither does TD. But they will be coming under massive pressure behind from Hungry Throne, Tamino. Oh, and Josh has lagged out. That's why GP is a bit slower at the moment. That's very unfortunate for Josh. But certainly, Hungry Throne, Tamino, Ross and Josh will be trying to make moves through this field of hard compound runners as into the pits comes Pelly. Deflated Wee leads this race by 3.2 seconds, and Deflated Wee will be hoping that Greg and TD can keep Hungry Throne behind for as long as possible. And there goes Hungry Throne down the inside of turn 4, a little bit of contact, lost a bit of ground. Not too sure about that one. I think maybe Hungry Throne could have taken more apex, but he wasn't fully ahead, so I think TD had every right to fight that position there. For Hungry Throne's sake, he needs to get past TD very quickly here. Tamino is now caught up. Last thing Hungry Throne wants is for Tamino to go flying past into 4th and allow him to charge down this top 3. I have to say, even though it looks like Greg and TD will be overtaken, they have had a very strong strategy. There's still 10 laps to go. So there's still every opportunity here for Hungry Throne, Tamino and Ross to make their way onto the podium. Deflated Wee obviously with that time penalty as well as TD, so when they cross the final finish line, they will lose 3 seconds. Hungry Throne and Tamino fighting. Bit of argy-bargy. Tamino sticks it around the outside. Didn't leave an awful amount of space for Hungry Throne there, who did have to back out of that move. Ross is hoping to catch up to this pack as Josh gets past Hawks down towards turn 7. When TD's had a bit of a contact with someone, but certainly TD is round and has lost a bit of ground. He's lost the place to Ross, and now Josh is looking to get past TD, our featured driver here tonight. Padge having a good race in the points, scored a point on Tuesday night as well to take him to 400 total points in IIRL. Oh, and Josh has given TD a bit of a nudge there. He is on better tyres, so I do understand Josh's frustration, but Josh just backed off the throttle there to let TD keep the place, which is very sporting of him. And in the end, TD's been very sporting of his own and allowed Josh an easy overtake into the first corner. And now Greg finds himself all alone defending from Tamino, Hungry Throne and Ross. Tamino gets past into 2nd and has a 5-second lead to break down. Obviously needs to stay within 3 seconds of Deflated Wee, but I'm sure Tamino will be very interested in overtaking Deflated Wee out on track. Hungry throwing then down the inside of Greg, using the DRS to good effect there. And already Tamino has pulled 2 seconds in front of Hungry Throne. Next up, next behind, sorry, for Greg is IIRL J, who could be on for a podium so long as he can stay within 3 seconds of Deflated Wee. And there goes Ross. Greg gives him the racing line, slots in behind, and Greg's job here will just be to try and stay within DRS range of Ross. Try and keep himself within some kind of competitive distance. Scuderia now closing in on his teammate. Will we see Ferrari pile up, or will we see a safe move? It's a safe move, and the new Ferrari driver has overtaken the existing Ferrari driver. Alpha Mati closing in on APS RA19 Hawks, and looks pretty eager to get that move done. Pulls out, fully alongside and ahead, and that's a nice move in an unconventional fashion, I would say. Alpha Mati back into the points and needs to stay within 3 seconds of Padgestic in 9th to get another point on the boards. Tamino, meanwhile, is really making inroads on that lead. If later we did have a 4.8 second advantage, it's now 1.8 seconds. Tamino, since getting past Greg, has closed 3 full seconds on our race leader. Josh looks to be the next to make a move on IIRL Greg, who has had a fantastic race there. Still in the points. Still pretty competitive. Scuderia only 4 seconds behind this group, these two, so you can see him in the background there. So Scuderia will most likely be able to have the opportunity to close that gap as Josh gets past Greg now into turn 5. Tamino. Say what you like about him, he is very quick. You'd like to order a dry session for the ATT race. Me too, mate. So with 4 laps to go, plus lap 27, Deflated Wee has been in a very strong position strategy-wise. But this is the crossover point that we were expecting for a good part of 10 to 15 laps now. At this moment, Tamino pulls out alongside Deflated Wee, who defends this rather brilliantly. Deflated Wee brakes as late as he can. Does give Tamino nowhere to go. Maybe a little bit cheeky, but you could argue that Deflated Wee has to fight a lot more being on worse tyres. This is bringing Hungry Throne back into the race as Asthma Frog pits in 14th place onto a new set of soft compound tyres and will look to go for the fastest lap. Tamino looked like he was fully off track there, so might have got a warning. Might need to be careful in the last few laps. Not quite close enough there to make a move. Hungry Throne is really being brought back into this race for a possible outsider of a race win. And I think so. Overtake into the back of Wee there, but we do now know it's lag, and that hasn't happened, thankfully. I think once Deflated Wee is overtaken, there is kind of no way for him to fight back. So, oh, and then once or twice, he's lost a load of places. Actually, he's lost a place to Josh, Scuderia, and Greg. But Ross still might be able to get back past Greg before the end of the race. So, for Wee, I think if he won't be able to fight back here, so his only real chance at a race. Well, he can't win the race, but certainly to stay on the podium. 3 seconds of Deflated Wee. The more that these three fight, the more chance Josh has to catch Tamina on the outside of Deflated Wee. Bit of wheel contact. Wee sticks it in there and comes out ahead. Tamino, I have to say, my time, this is up there. On 22 lap old hard tyres, from 2 incredibly quick drivers behind on front, isn't. As we sets a fastest lap of the race, which we probably were expecting. Rethrown, which means Deflated Wee for all, as this race got damage, and Luke might find himself for a podium. And he's spun! I do not believe it! Tamino, who probably should have won this race, has spun and will not be on the podium. Scuderia is now up into P4 on the podium. This race on track to call the action too quickly because I know there's lag going on. But that one did. We had hit the wall, or someone had hit the wall. Scuderia has an outside of maybe a podium place here if he can on this top 3. On a Deflated Wee, defends the inside line, is still fully ahead. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is a brilliant performance from Deflated Wee. Sure, he's got a time penalty. You might think, well, why is he holding these two up? Why don't just let him through and then we'll have a fight for the lead? But he has. Here comes Hungry Throne. Race win. He's already got one this season, fully alongside, and he's got the space, and now he's got the lead of the Grand Prix. Hungry Throne, brilliant. Now, we all know opportunity to overtake on track for the race win. Gotta do it. Sector, we still could find Doria on the podium. He sniffs the opportunity. Hungry Throne, meanwhile, is capitalising on the better compound tyres. And bar a time penalty in the final couple of corners, will come round to take his second race win of the season. Hungry Throne looked lightly at one point, but he wins in Singapore. Deflated Wee will have to wait until Scuderia crosses the line and misses out on a podium because of it by across the line to finish him in P6. Uncharacteristically, Greg and TD hit some in this race earlier on with their strategy, but the tyres just didn't the final race, and Greg finishes in 7th. Alpha Matti, really strong performance, finishing ahead of an assist tier 1 regular in Pelly. TD gets the final point and snatches it away from his finishes in 12th. Hawks on his return to IIRL. Strong performance here tonight, but unfortunately no points for the hard effort. And Asthma Frog, a valiant debut, narrowly missed out on a Q3 appearance. The race didn't go as planned for him, but I'm excited to see what Asthma Frog can achieve in this league. So Hungry Throne with his second league win in IRL history. In only his 16th Grand Prix. He has really come on leaps and bounds recently. And Hungry Throne definitely could be a shout for a Season 4 champion. Josh extends his lead at the top of the championship thanks to Deflated Wee's 3-second time penalty. And now Josh leads the championship by 59 points with only 5 races left. It is looking like Josh has one hand on the championship. And let's not forget, Scuderia, what a debut here tonight. Has really performed strongly in quali tonight. A different two-stop strategy, which you might think was a bit of a sucker punch for him, but he made it work and he capitalised on others' errors and some really, really quick pace here tonight. Very well-deserved podium, and congratulations on a really, really strong debut here tonight. Deflated Wee, Tamino, Ross, Greg, Alpha Matti, Pelly and TD end up in the points. 6 retirements, Mr. Wiggles, Joseph, Smaller Smiley, Snacks, Platty and Adrian. I'm going to give it to an outsider. I think this person didn't make a single mistake. They were forced into a strategy change early on by the safety car, which wasn't their fault. In the end, I think the strategy cost him, but I think he drove the socks off the car, and that person is IIRL Greg. I think coming from a disappointing Q1, where he dropped out in the first part of qualifying, came back to take some really strong points here, and actually keep himself competitive with other very quick drivers is no easy feat. So congratulations IIRL Greg, driver of the day here this evening. Obviously special mentions Hungry Throne for winning, Josh for an incredible pole position lap, and some other drivers out there who had some very strong performances, including our debutant Scuderia.